Hello, Andrea. Welcome back from your recent Sony event where you got to get a look at so many games that we don't have time to talk about each of them individually. We got to cram some games in because at stuff like this, I mean, I'm sure there's even games that you didn't check out, or were you able to get your hands on everything?
I wasn't able to get my hands on everything. The event wasn't quite long enough, and there were a couple of games I wanted to spend a little bit more time with, but the games I did get my hands on were really cool.
So here we go. What's the first game?
All right, so the first one I want to talk about is a game that has already been out on PlayStation, and it's Towerfall, and they have a new expansion coming called Dark World. So it's coming in sometime, I think he said May 2015, so coming pretty soon. It's going to be $9.99. It's going to be DLC, so you do need to own Towerfall Ascension in order to play Dark World. And some of the cool things that they are adding this time around include 4-player co-op. Brandon, did you play Towerfall?
I did for a second. I picked it up. The office was pretty insane about it. It was definitely popular for weeks and weeks. So Towerfall was a hit in GT.
Yeah, it was. So this game originally debuted back on Ouya, which, we won't even get into that. But it was really fun to play Ascension on PlayStation 4. I loved playing co-op because competitive PvP just gets me really riled up. So I was super excited to see that they added 4-player co-op this time around. And they're adding a new legendary difficulty in co-op. I find if you're just on normal difficulty, this game is really hard. I played co-op hardcore difficulty with the creator of the game, and even the two of us together had a really tough time passing the level, which is a testament to the skill you need in order to be good at this. So they're adding a couple other things in the regular gameplay as well. They're adding 2 different types of new arrows, since that is your primary source of attacking enemies. There's going to be a trigger arrow that has a remote detonation, so you can fire this arrow from across the map, and then when an enemy gets close to it, you can detonate it, and then it causes a big explosion, which is really handy when you're in some of the later levels and there's multiple enemies on screen. There's also a new prism arrow, which when you shoot it at other players or enemies, it traps that person or enemy inside of a prism. And that doesn't kill them, but it allows you to kind of keep them trapped so you can go and jump on them, or you can shoot them. But be advised, if you're using prism arrows in versus mode, the person who's trapped can still shoot arrows out of the prism, which I thought was a really interesting twist to it. There will be a bunch of new versus levels with 4 different styles, and one is procedurally generated, which I thought was really interesting. So the more times you do it, it's going to be different every single time. And there's a new character, a new archer. She's called the Vainglorious Ghoul. She's kind of like a zombie pirate. And this time around, all of the archers have an alternate costume, which is a nice variation so you can keep track of where you are at on screen. And it's coming to, this particular expansion is coming to Steam, PS4, and Vita, and it will be cross-buy. So if you have a PS4 and a Vita, you can buy it and play it on both systems, which is really cool.
These sound like really smart additions to this game. It doesn't sound like, when you said Dark World, it's like, oh, this sounds like a very story-specific thing, that they'll just be adding content based on this new world. But it sounds like you're getting a new mode or a new character or a new, like every facet of this game is getting better.
Yeah, absolutely. And what they were talking about was that they were surprised by how many people in the community kept playing the game for so long, because the gameplay experience itself is not like super deep. It's just really challenging. And they wanted to be able to give things to players who have been playing this game. And he said because it's DLC, they're assuming that people who are buying this are experienced players of Towerfall, so they wanted to make it as challenging as possible. They did also add 5 new music tracks. So on those 4 new levels, each of them has their own new music track, and then there is a new boss track as well. So
cool.
That's really cool. I'm excited about that. Definitely going to pick that up. And then Super Time Force Ultra for PlayStation 4. So Super Time Force has been out for a little while now, but it hasn't been on PlayStation yet. So have you played Super Time Force?
I have not, but this is the one that Shuhei's in, right? This is his new character edition that they revealed at PSX.
Exactly. So not only is Shuhei Yoshida a new character in the game, but there's 2 other Sony characters. There's Galahad from the Order 1886, and there's also the Journey character. I thought it was so funny because that character doesn't really have a name, and it's not like male or female. It's very androgynous. They just kept calling it the Journey character. But you can play as that person. And what I thought was really kind of weird about it is that Journey is a very non-violent game, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's super passive, and so in that vein, they wanted to make sure that this character stayed true to that. So you're not actively attacking people when you're playing as this Journey character. Instead, you shoot out scarves, and that deflects incoming attacks. And I asked him, I said, well, how are you going to use that character in some of these crazy boss fights that are in Super Time Force? And he was like, that was really challenging for us as a team to think about, how can we stay true to this character and where the world that they come from, but also make sure that mechanically it doesn't break the game. And so he wouldn't give up too many more details because he wants people to see him in action. But Galahad has his Luger pistol and that powerful arc cannon that was in the game. I don't know, do you remember that gun?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, a super fun gun to use. Not used enough in the game, but that's a discussion for another time. But definitely looks cool. And then, of course, Shuhei attacks with love, and his charge attack is sending out tweets, which they, of course, showed at PlayStation Experience, which I thought was pretty fun.
It is nice to think, you could be upset when like a cool game that was on PC comes to consoles and you don't get a chance to play it because it's exclusive, to Xbox or PlayStation 4, or something that just sticks around a PC for a really long time. And then later when it comes to consoles, you might get a fun little edition like this if you take advantage of it like Sony has, where it's like, okay, well, we haven't had this game on our systems yet, so let's make it a little bit more. Let's put in some fun characters. I mean, it's just fun. It's fun not only playing with this new stuff, but fun conceptualizing it and fun to think of these guys, adding these extra characters. And Super Time Force seems like a game where an extra character goes a long way, actually. Like if you have a character that has different abilities, you might want to think like, okay, this game doesn't take too long. I'll go back through and at least play the first half of it with a new character just to try it out.
Absolutely. Well, and they're also adding 50 new holodeck levels. So in addition to the characters, they're adding new content to play through as well, because they understand that, people probably have already played this before and that this is maybe a second buy for them. And so they wanted to make sure to really, give that replayability to those players. It's going to be $14.99. They didn't give me a specific date. They said sometime like spring, summer 2015, so hopefully we'll have it by the end of the summer. It sounds like it will come earlier in the summer than later, but still no specific release date for that one yet, but also looking forward to that. And then the last one I want to talk about is something that they also showed off at PSX and most recently at PAX East, called Enter the Gungeon. So this game is from Devolver Digital. It's coming for PS4, PC, Mac, and Linux sometime late in 2015. And this is the most interesting genre mashup game that I've seen in recent memory. Like, I can't recall another game that has kind of mashed together genres so artistically. So it's a gunfight, bullet hell dungeon crawler. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, and it's extremely challenging. So he kept mentioning that it's pixel perfect hits, meaning when you fire your gun or when the enemy fires bullets at you, it's down to the pixel for accuracy. So you have to be very precise in your movements and, obviously really skilled to make it through. Imagine like the difficulty of a game like Hotline Miami paired with the precision you need to be successful in a game like Dark Souls. It was really, really hard in a way that I got super frustrated playing, but I know a lot of people are really into that now.
Frustrated in a good way or just frustrated?
In a good way, right? So that's the thing about these really difficult games, is that while it seems like it's unfair, it's not. It's just you. It's just you not being as good as the game is. And he told me that mathematically, they made sure that there was a way to pass all of these levels. And I was like, well, listen, just because a computer can pass it doesn't mean that a human's going to have that ability. And he said that they were super surprised when they brought it out and showed it to people that they had this one guy at PAX go through the entire demo and not die once. And he was like, I've never seen that before. But because it's very much a roguelike, they are saying that it's conceivable that you'll die hundreds of thousands of times before you actually finally beat the game on the hardest difficulty setting. And I was like, that kind of like blew my mind a little bit. I had to repeat it back to him and I was like, hundreds of thousands? Like, really? Who's in for that? Who wants that gameplay experience?
I'm sure at least 100,000 people are going to be in. And it's curious with games like this too, like you mentioned, that the developers themselves can play the game all they want, but maybe they have yet to meet their match. That one guy out there that one guy or gal that is really into the game and is very skilled. Some person who's just weaned on a decade of Counter-Strike, and this is no issue for them.
Those
and it's
Twitch
really
skills, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like a fun game to stream. Sounds like a smart game to have leaderboards for, and maybe to track that stuff independently, whether you're playing the game or not, and see how people. Yeah, lots of crazy, bullet hell, platformy, jumping around shooters lately, especially in the independent scene.
Yeah, well, what's great about this one is actually not a platformer, so it's a top-down dungeon crawler.
Okay.
So very much in that like Zelda vein, or more recently games like Hotline Miami. And there is a map. Actually, it looks more like Binding of Isaac than anything.
Okay.
And there's an RPG combo system, and there's all these different environmental interactions. There's several different characters that you can choose from. Each character has their own reason for entering the gungeon. And what's kind of neat about the styling of the game is that most of the enemies are different types of bullets. So there's like shotgun shells and like hollow points, and it was really just kind of cute and quirky in that way, but also
Cute,
like
quirky bullets.
yeah, but it was super challenging. So I'm excited to see more. They said that they're going to have a new build at E3, which I'm looking forward to playing. And I mean, Devolver Digital, man, they are just putting out hit after hit.
True.
So, so that's what I have from the PlayStation Showcase.
I like
got
your
to
picks.
see some cool things. Yeah.
These all sound really exciting. If you could get your hand on one of them, what would it be out of these three? If you could choose, if they were, all three in front of you right now, and you could jump back into the full expanse of one, what would it be?
Oh man, I would probably say the one that seems most interesting to me right now is Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. Just because I don't know if I'm skilled enough to play Enter the Gungeon or Super Time Force all the way through.
Right, there you go.
But that game it's something different, something that I haven't seen, and it really, what I told him when I was playing is I said it defies categorization, it defies a genre in a way that is really exciting about the indie community, and I'm really happy that the publishers overall are, really investing in these types of experiences more than like a game. It's really truly more of an experience, so I'm really looking forward to that one.
That's what a lot of these giant independent events turn into, is just kind of a battle of genre customization. It's just like, where exactly do I put this thing? So you were there first and foremost, and you classified it for us, Andrea, and we greatly appreciate it.